if I'm going to get involved in drama, I want it to be a real estate storyline.
You know you're putting on some sort of front, not I'm not saying fully, but something for the cameras.
Probably, a little tequila didn't help as well. And I just sort of leaned into, I'll call show Gio. I put on a blinder and I just went for it. And you were the target, unfortunately. And
I'm used to being the target. It's fine.
That's fair. Another thing about when we were filming season 3, I had all this pressure. Like I was carrying all these different burdens, like some marital issues. We were going to counseling at the time. My wife and I were obviously expecting our first kid, and I was scared shitless. Between the filming process itself, it was really taking a toll on my marriage and just my household, and I was in disarray.
Featured on Netflix, Selling the OC, he is a top luxury realtor, family man, and very proud recent father to Theodore Teddy Helou. Together with his interior designer wife, Tiffany, he is laying the groundwork for his aspiration into real estate development. With boundless energy and relentless drive, he navigates both personal and professional endeavors with grace and determination. Please welcome Gio Helou to the show.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Of course. Oh my goodness. I almost brought my boxing gloves.
That's fair.
All right, let's go. Let's go.
Bring it.
Okay. So of course I want to start with all the juiciness. What did you think about season 3?
Wow. I will say it was interesting how this season was so different with a lot, I'd say all the men really getting into the thick of the drama. I think that's a little different from seasons 1 and 2. And I found it like, wow, that was obviously me. And then, seeing Tyler and Austin and Sean, all of them, they all just dove head first in, present company included. And I think that's kind of what sets this one apart from the rest.
Absolutely. Which I was sitting on the edge of my seat. I'm like, oh, because I wasn't there for, if you noticed, I wasn't there for any of those like dramatic moments when everything just hit the fan. And I'm just like, oh, I mean, I'm kind of glad I wasn't there.
Yeah,
to be
I
quite
wish
honest.
I wasn't either, actually.
Yeah, I just feel like other fights would probably have taken place at the same time.
So that's right. You weren't there when like Austin and Sean started going at it?
No.
That's right.
Yeah. So I kind of knew like when it was going to come. I'm not going to speak too much on that because I don't want to speak for Sean or anything. But as you know, like we were friends and he was telling me what was happening prior to that moment. So, he was shocked, obviously, to say the least. And then Austin just didn't. So in the show, it shows that he's like, let's talk. Like as soon as he walked in, he was like, let's talk. Was that
the
real?
Reality. Yeah.
Wow.
I had never seen, so I'm sitting at my desk and Sean walks in and Austin was like a drill sergeant. Like he shot up and was like, we're going to talk outside, Sean. And I was just like blindsided by that. We think we all were.
Oh, wow.
And so I sort of knew, if I recall, it's been a minute, but I think I knew what it was about. But I didn't expect that energy to just come out of Austin because normally he's pretty chill and kind of goofing around. So that was a side of him that I hadn't seen before.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad I wasn't there too because like, it's just it would have been kind of scary to kind of witness that.
What escalated? So the funny thing is when they first started talking, no one was concerned about anything crossing a line. And there was even like a joke, like because the sliding glass doors were open and they were like talking out there for so long, like we were kind of getting bothered by it. So they're like, Gio, because I was sitting closest to the door, can you close those doors? So I go and close them because no one was anticipating anything beyond verbal communication to take place. So I close the doors and then maybe fast forward, a couple minutes and next thing I know, I remember hearing, I think it was Brandy or Lauren, like, Gio, get up, get out there. And then Tyler and I shot out there as quickly as we could.
Oh my gosh.
But it was a intense moment for the
yeah. Do you think Austin would have done something
I
physically?
think he was controlled because let's be real. When I was holding Austin back, if he wanted to power through, like just blow through.
Oh, I'm sure that guy's massive.
I don't think that he was, out of control in a physical sense. I think he was heated, and I think Sean as well. I mean, Sean's a strong guy too, and I think Tyler's bigger than me, but he was kind of holding Sean back. I was holding Austin back, and I think both of them knew they weren't going to go too far with it, but just the energy, the machismo, the pushing and shoving was enough.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So let's kind of dive into our nice, joyful interactions.
Let's yeah. Oh my gosh.
So obviously we kind of already spoke about this, but I think it's fair to kind of clarify our side of things and kind of what went down. I just remember, it's so funny, the scene at my broker preview, and you and I chatted and you walked away, and this camera goes to my face and I'm sitting here with this look on my face, like blinking, I'm looking around, and then it goes to the next scene. That was the exact moment. It is so, I started bursting out laughing because I knew at that moment it was a real reaction where I was like looking at every single camera and I'm like, something is happening right now and I have no idea what it is. Gio's acting weird and I don't know what's going on. And that was like the moment. And then obviously after we wrapped, I pulled you aside off camera and I'm like, Gio, like what's going on? Are we good? And then you specifically said you had issues with other people. And I was like, okay, we're cool. But then watching back, I saw you had a lot to say at my broker preview. And I'm like, what? So anyways.
Yeah. So yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. I regret directing the frustrations I was having about the issue on Bayside towards you, because it wasn't about you. And, I let other influences steer me to, and I'm not making excuses for myself by any means. Of course, yeah. Steer me to just focus my irritation and all the issues I had towards you. And so, the funny thing is, when it came to that whole entire storyline, I'm actually going to blame I'm going to blame this on Jason to a degree, because he indirectly, I mean, he didn't force my hand, but he twisted my arm into having a competitive broker tour at the same time as yours. And the thing is, like, I didn't even want to be there. And I told Jason, listen, I will do this because from Jason's perspective, he's like, okay, it's cool for the Oppenheim Group to advertise. We have 2 Bayfront broker tours happening simultaneously.
Literally right across the water from each other. Literally right across. Yeah.
So he's like, Jason had this vision. I think we can, ferry people over to and from each of them. And so I told Jason, I said, okay, listen, you want to have a broker tour at my listing, be my guest, but I will not be hosting it because I want to go to Kayla's. And Jason said, okay, not a problem. So Jason had his assistant come down and host it, but it all snowballed and I lost control of the situation because I was frustrated at Jason. I was frustrated at some conversations that had gone down between other agents in the office regarding Bayside. And I think probably, a little tequila didn't help as well. And I just sort of leaned into, I'll call show Gio or something of that nature. And I figured, you know what, this is a good real estate story, good real estate drama. And I think I justified it in my mind to the effect of like, if I'm going to get involved in drama, I want it to be a real estate storyline. And so I just think I put on a blinder and I just went for it. And you were the target, unfortunately. And
I'm used to being the target. It's fine.
That's fair. So, watching it back now, I have regrets about how I handled it. And I think, and I don't say this, I'm saying this as unbiasedly as possible. You look really good. So it didn't play.
Oh,
but
like in general.
It did, yeah,
for the show.
I'm saying.
Oh,
in the
I thought you were
show-
talking about my looks.
Oh, no,
like
you
my
look good
outfits.
too, but-
I'm like, thanks.
I think that storyline makes you look good, and it doesn't make me look good, but it's a show, and
You gave great TV. I mean, yeah.
it's unfortunate that it did take a toll, on our friendship. And that's, I think, at the end of the day, the regret I have.
Well, I would say I feel like it brought us closer, to be quite honest, because it kind of allowed us to really get serious, snap out of it and be like, what's the real deal here? Like, where do we stand as friends? Like, and I feel like it kind of did in a way bring us together and just to have that conversation. And now we're sitting here together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just feel like that this is going to open like more doors for us to get closer as friends, because I've always admired you. I love Tiffany. Like, everything happens for a reason. I mean, if you go way back to season 1, me and Rose had issues, and look, now we're like super cool. We're doing some business together.
Right.
So it's like when stuff like that happens, it's okay. At the end of the day, we're grown adults and we can forgive each other, take accountability, which that's what you're doing, which is huge. And at the end of the day, we are human. We make mistakes. We say and do things that we totally regret. But as long as you go back and say, you know what, guess what? I messed up. I'm sorry. Let's move on. Great. And Gio, I'm a very forgiving person. Like, all I ask is like, take accountability, say you're sorry. Cool. I don't have time to hold on to grudges.
Right.
I don't have time to hold on to anything negative because it doesn't serve me, and it sure as heck doesn't serve you or anybody else around us.
I have noticed a lot of scripture references in your Instagram stories lately, and you're really delving into, the Bible, and I love that. So I'm trying to do the same. Is my point. Yeah.
I love that you bring that up. When you first met me, I was a non-believer. I just found God for the first time end of last summer, September.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
I had an encounter and he softened my heart, and it's been a journey ever since. So I love that you noticed
Praise
that
God.
and acknowledged that.
Love that.
Yeah, but like it's God that has softened me and everything around me and things like that. So I really I would like to kind of deep delve into that with you, with your faith. But let's kind of continue with what we were talking about first, and then I would love to dive into that because I know that you go to a church, but we'll reel back a little bit. But I'm glad we're having this conversation.
Yeah. And for the record, it was a badass broker tour. It was off the hook.
It was the biggest ever in history of OC.
I believe it. I really do. And they had to, the funny thing is, like, you see me storm off in that scene, like walking down the dock with this posse of people. They had to force me to leave. I didn't want to leave. I'm serious. I did, because I was having a good time. I was enjoying the house. I was actually really trying to take it all in. And I was, you had a great spread. You had drinks. It was a props.
I mean, listen, there's one thing I'm really good at is definitely knowing how to fill a room, throw an event, throw a party. I love doing that. Like the other party that I've thrown in season 2 that they didn't use.
Oh, right.
Remember when I was wearing that yellow dress and it was like, not necessarily the location I would have liked, but based on
Top Bayside.
It is very hard to top Bayside. Caviar on the yacht, all the things. It was so fun.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll do that again.
No, you've ruined broker tours for me now. I'm serious. It's like I don't want to do my job.
Well, what about that scene where I'm just like cursing in your face? Okay, let me just say something, you guys. When I watched that, I cringed because this was BC, before Christ.
Oh.
So watching me, I was like, oh, I was just cursing a lot.
The
It was
whole
just,
thing was, when I say cringy, not because of you, I was, entire thing I hated. I mean, watching that back was, like I said, I was like closing my eyes. I didn't even want to like watch it.
yeah.
I got so fired up. I'm like, where did that even, I don't even know where that came from in retrospect. It's odd. It's odd
What
to see
came
that.
from?
Just like me sort of egging you on in that scene.
Oh, because you
like,
raised your voice and you said
Right.
a curse word. I'm like, don't effing curse at me. And I'm like,
Right.
I just cursed.
Well,
But I think it was definitely, it was a buildup of frustration because I knew that I pulled you aside and be like, are we good? And you said yes. And then I'm just still hearing everyone else talking about it. And, of course, you know how it works. They put us in a setting.
yeah.
I would not bring it up in that kind of setting. So, of course, they were talking about it. I was with all the girls, and then they brought it up again. But they knew what they were doing. Okay, number one. Number two, they put us in an environment where it's like, also too, you guys, because we know we're on a show, sometimes we do hold back conversations so that they are natural on camera. Right.
That's right.
There was moments where we could have spoken, but I think you and I both, and I take blame too. Both were kind of, well, actually I don't take blame because I did pull you aside and I made it very clear that we're cool. Right. And then you said yes. Right. But sometimes I have done it in the past with other scenarios and other people that I would hold back a conversation just so it could be more natural on camera.
Yeah.
And I think we all do that, right? So it seems like that's what you're saying, right? That you kind of held back a little bit, knowing like we can, but me, I don't bullshit. I'm not saying that you do, but I was tired and you're my friend, or at least I thought at the time. And so I'm like, no. I'm not going to waste time talking about he said this, she said that. Gio, come here. Let's go sit down and have a talk. So that's kind of like what my thought process was.
Got it.
So of course, as things got a little bit heated, we were all tired.
Yeah.
And I wasn't eating those hot dogs, like gross.
Or any of us.
Yeah. So it's like, we had alcohol and so I,
It was a fiery scene.
It was.
No pun intended.
It was. Full pun intended.
I'll say this. We need a reunion. It's time.
We do. There's so much to talk about. So much like question. I have questions.
I do too. Oh my God. I have more questions than answers. And it's reunion time, I think. Note to Netflix.
Yeah. I know. I agree. Gosh, is there anything else like you want to kind of mention in season 3 that you're just like kind of want to talk about or get off your chest or clarify?
Should there be? Am I forgetting something?
I don't know.
There's probably a lot. When I watch back the seasons, I'm really uncomfortable watching myself. It's like, and I think there's an element of I'm putting on a persona more than really who I am. And so it's really, I don't want to say cringy, but sort of like that. So I kind of watch with one eye open, one eye closed, and one, same, I'm sort of half listening. So I'm sure there are things that I should clarify that I'm forgetting right now, but and I've heard other people have this issue. Like it's just a challenge for me to like actually really sit and focus on those seasons.
So let's go there, because I'm sure you already know. I've called you out a couple times. There is somewhat of a persona you put on in front of the cameras versus Gio that I know, right? So, what and how, break that down a little bit. Like, you're putting on some sort of front, not, I'm not saying fully, but something for the cameras. What like goes through your mind or head? I know, your mom has actually mentioned that you've wanted to be an actor in the past. Where is that kind of where part of you is like kicking in the actor Gio side, or what goes through your mind right when the cameras are on? Because when you're like this is Gio, the laid back, super cool, humble. What? Gio, humble, right? So what goes through your mind when the cameras are on?
I think part of me just likes to have the option of pretending to be someone else in a weird way. And there's a freedom in it almost, that if I'm not fully myself, if I'm kind of like playing a role of myself, that it's a little bit, I feel unencumbered and loose, and like, even though it's the opposite persona, but I feel that way on the inside. So, it's fun for me to kind of just play up of, a version of myself that is thankfully not accurate and egotistical and douchey, whatever the adjective you want to throw add in there. But I don't know, it makes the filming process, which frankly I don't really enjoy very much. I get, like, when we filmed seasons 2 and 3 essentially back to back, I was so burnt out.
I'm sure
you were too.
We all were, yeah.
So, having a front, I call it, makes it a little bit more enjoyable for me.
I would call it your alter ego.
I like
right?
That. Alter ego with a big ego.
With a massive ego. What did Sean say? The ego the size of Mount Everest?
Oh yeah, I did hear that.
Alter ego. Okay, I really love that you opened up about that, because maybe there's people out there that kind of relate to that, and they probably don't understand or know why or where it comes from. But it's, when you play multiple roles in life in general, right? You're a dad, you're a husband, you're a realtor. So you kind of have to put on these different hats. So you kind of have to have an alter ego for each role, right? So when it's Gio in real life as a realtor, you put on a certain hat. When the cameras are on the show as a realtor, and knowing it needs to be entertaining, you almost do put on another hat, right? That is like your alter ego, which allows you to feel that freedom, which for you, it's liberating.
That makes sense.
Right? So I love this, because so people could really listen and understand where you're coming from. And that isn't necessarily like you're not a bad guy because of it, right?
I hope not. And another thing about when we were filming season 3, I had a lot of personal things going on, and there was so it felt like I was like I had all this pressure. Like I was carrying all these different burdens. Like, my wife and I were obviously expecting our first kid, and I was scared shitless. And in retrospect, I'm like, you're such a dumbass, Gio. But in the moment, I didn't know what it was going to mean to be a father. I was scared that I was going to be a failure on that front, and not really be the example that a child deserves. And then my wife and I were also going through, because of that, to a degree, some marital issues. We were going to counseling at the time. And, I think between the filming process itself, it was really taking a toll on my marriage and just my household. And I was in disarray filming season 3. I mean, on a personal side, I didn't bring it too much to the show. I touched upon it. They wanted me to go deeper, and I wasn't comfortable. But at this, we also, I mean, to just throw more onto, Tiff and I were buying our first house together. And so you had like a financial burden, a personal, just marital burden, and then this future burden of a child that I didn't have a clue how to really feel about. So I think it came out in weird ways. And I think probably the drama that I brought to the table with you was indirectly a side effect of all that chaos in my personal life.
Yeah. And I think that's another reason why I was so way more understanding. And I knew like, I just got to have a real one-on-one conversation with Gio, because at the end of the day, when people treat you a certain way, it's because you have no idea what they're going through. You don't know what's going on. Yeah. You know, with my other altercations with other cast members, it's like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I wasn't always like this, you know. I just, as I have grown and evolved, I realized that it's like they're going through something. They're hurting right now, whatever that may be. We knew that a baby was on the way for you. I knew that. So it's like, I didn't really take it personal for too long. I just brushed it off. I'm like, okay, whatever. It is what it is. We'll chat. We'll figure it out. Right. So, but it also was very helpful because you have taken accountability multiple times. Like the conversation we had at the opening for the San Diego office. That conversation was way longer than they shown, right? There was so much more that was said in that conversation that they did not show, where you were saying, Kayla, I respect you as a single mother. You work hard, They didn't show that piece. So it's like at that, and we didn't end that way. But I'm really glad that you're opening up about the new father thing, because that is much more common than anyone thinks. It's like, us women, we go through the pregnancy, especially the first child, it's scary. But not a lot of people talk about what fathers go through. So if you don't mind, can you elaborate a little bit more on the thoughts you're feeling and where you think it came from? And then obviously, because, and this goes for all parents, we don't get a handbook. We're not told how to raise a child. Like you just have to figure it out, right? And parenting is, if you're a parent, you know what I'm talking about. In a sense, it's kind of, parenting is kind of like learning who you are. Things that, the good things in you, the bad things in you, the things that need to change in you. It's like a reflection. It's like you are forced to look in the mirror, right? So if you could elaborate a little bit more and open up to how you felt and were thinking before having the child, and then obviously after, you're like, wait a minute, things are way different, but probably better than I expected.
Yeah, it's not anything like you said you can really prepare for. When Tiff and I, first of all, we had trouble getting pregnant to begin with. We tried for about 2 years, and that, I think, it was already an emotionally heightened situation. So we find out finally, she gets pregnant, thank God. And, at the same time, my family is sort of in disarray, and with everything else that I shared that was going on, my parents were also going through a divorce. And, no matter how old you are, it affects the stability of your house and just some of the core tenets that you relied on, in childhood. They sort of get broken down. And so I think because of that, and I'd also, just on a practical note, I'd never held a baby before. I mean, maybe one, I don't recall. And so I was never around kids growing up, and I had no clue what it meant to be a father. My father is an amazing father. I want to make sure I get that on the record. But I didn't know from just a child rearing point of view, like what to do, just and how to be me. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you said being a parent it helps, or it forces you to face yourself, or at least, and either you do or you run away from it. And I did my best to really self-reflect on me, and the moment we had Teddy in the hospital, I'm not a crier. There were tears rolling down my face. My wife is the cry. She'll cry every day. I mean, not in a bad way, just a happy, you know.
Yeah.
She wasn't crying. She was looking at me. She was like, "Are you all right?" And I was just like bawling. And she was looking at me, asking me if I was all right. She just had a baby come out of her. And I'm like, "I'm fine. Are you okay?" And my whole perspective on life shifted. I was so self-absorbed, so selfish, and still working on those things. But once I had my son, I'm thinking about work differently. I'm thinking about just everyday life differently, my marriage differently, and it's everything's how do I say, there's more long-term perspective now, where before I was so short-sighted and making stupid decisions, and personally, financially, I mean, now it's not about me anymore. At least most of the time. Sometimes it is.
No, I love that. So what advice would you give to new fathers / new soon to be fathers, just to kind of prepare, and advice that you would give yourself, thinking back before Teddy arrived?
You know, I had read a couple books before having my son, and they would say, like, you know, don't worry if, you know, you don't feel connected with your son right away. Sometimes it can take up to, you know, a year. And I was sort of reassuring myself, like, I'm not going to be connected. Like, I was telling myself I'm not. And then it was the opposite. I was. And those books, as helpful as they were in the moment, maybe they were meaningless to me at that point. But as far as advice, I'm winging it as I go here the best I can. I just know, I guess the advice would be, if I can take on that role, and I'm not saying I'm perfect by any means, but if I can do it so far decently, then anyone probably can. So as selfish as I was, then I think anyone who is sincere is capable.
I love that.
It's the best thing in the world. Now it's like when you get a tattoo. Now I want more kids. Like, bring them on, Tiff. Like,
yeah,
I do. Yeah.
Really? Are you guys trying?
We are.
Oh my gosh.
Sort of. But the hard part is, because she is nursing him, you don't really get like your cycle going and all that until you stop that. She's like, I don't want to stop that, but we're trying. She's like, I don't know. So it's a little confusing.
Yeah.
The science of it all is confusing. Yeah.
Wait,
we can put a
how old is Teddy?
7 months now.
Oh, okay. I mean, me and my sister, I don't know if you know this, but I have an Irish twin.
Okay.
We're 10 months apart.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah.
Mama didn't waste time.
No. Well, I was an accident, but I was also the blessing. So, well, they're all a blessing. I'm not going to take that away, but I'm the favorite. Yeah. So you have your 2 older sisters.
I have one older, one younger.
Oh, she's younger.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, for some reason, I thought you were the
Everyone
baby.
thinks she's older.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
She's wiser.
So you're the middle child.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, let's go in a little bit of where is Gio from? Tell me about your childhood, growing up with your sisters.
So, yeah, okay. So I grew up in the San Gabriel Valley, which is like 30, 40 minutes from Orange County.
In the boondocks?
Yeah, sort of, yeah. And had a great childhood growing up. I mean, no one's perfect, but I have an older sister and younger, and I was close to both of them. I'm the typical middle child syndrome. Like, I was the good one. My older sister was crazy, got away with everything. I was the straight and narrow, like, you know, got the straight A's.
Really?
Yeah.
Usually that's the older one. They get straight A's. The middle one's the wild child, and the youngest one is like the parents completely
I have the
forgot
syndromes
about.
all mixed up then. Oh, okay. I don't know. Okay.
Because I'm the middle child, and I was like forgotten.
I'm the middle. I'm the same.
Wait, you're the same? Really?
Yeah. Well, look at me.
That's true. Wait, hold on.
I'm the oldest. I'm unprepared.
Wait, what? Okay, maybe obviously it's just different, but I thought the middle child was like the forgotten wild one. But I could totally be wrong. I'm gonna look that up, and I'm gonna post that.
Circle back.
So okay, go on. Sorry.
So grew up, you know, normal childhood. You know,
Did you come out of the womb knowing you're gonna be a realtor?
no, okay. So my mom had done real estate and my dad was a builder. So they were embedded in that world. Real estate was the last thing in the world I wanted to do. It was like I had to be forced. Like I did not want.
That's usually the story.
Right.
No one comes out saying I'm gonna be a realtor. Yeah.
So after college, I was living in LA for a bit, trying to figure out life. I didn't really know. I was, you know, thinking about, should I be an actor? Should I try to do something in the film business? And, you know, I had some odd jobs here and there, but nothing really panned out. So
What's the oddest job you've ever had?
I was briefly an assistant for a pretty big agent who shall remain nameless. And
Like what kind of, like a realtor agent?
oh, no, sorry, like an actor's agent.
Oh, okay.
And the things that I would have to do for some of his clients, his actor clients, were just so bizarre.
What's the most
I'm trying to think
bizarre
of, like,
thing?
something really strange. I just remember, like, there was one really weird client, and if he's someone you would recognize if you saw him, and then he was dating this foreign woman, and it was I would have to like go pick up his dry cleaning. But if I wasn't, like, you remember the show with Meryl Streep, Devil Wears Prada?
Yes.
Like, it was, I had to like be wearing a certain color when I went into his house, otherwise it would disturb the aura of it was so bizarre. I had to like,
the feng shui.
I literally had to look at notes, like, just to like drop off dry cleaning. And this is a horrible story, but
I think it's interesting.
It was like one day I wore the wrong color. I forgot. I wasn't even thinking about it.
Oh no.
But I was still following the rules. Anyways, he walks in, he looks at me, and then just starts chanting the aura away that I had brought into the house. I was
my
like,
gosh.
what am I doing here? What am I doing in life? He woke something up inside me though, because I was scared shitless, but I was also like, where am I in life right now? What am I doing? Like,
he made you question your entire
I
life. Like,
essentially
what's happening?
moved to Orange County because of that. I was like, I need to, this is not the town for me.
Oh
so
my gosh.
I think, you know, a month or so later, I packed up and I moved to Orange County where my family was now living.
Okay.
And I was talking to my mom one morning. I had no purpose in life. I was lost.
How old were you at this point?
Maybe 27.
Okay.
And she's like, you know, why don't you look into real estate? She had gotten back into it. She was doing really well. And she's like, if anything, you can make some money and then figure out what you want to do in life, you know, just as a placeholder.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, okay, started working with her, and the rest is history.
Yeah. And you found a love for it.
Did, yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously it brought you to a show on Netflix, which is, I mean, did you ever see that in your future? Like,
No.
did you have, right?
I mean, I don't, did you?
No, I mean, I thought, I would be on some sort of like YouTube show, like channel where I'm helping people in some way, shape or form. And I've also kind of imagined a few times that I would have like a talk show one day, but I was like, it was like one of those like dreams that you're just like, that would be cool, but maybe not, And then, no, I never thought in a million years I would end up on Netflix.
Yeah, that was a curveball.
Yeah, huge.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, would you say the show has like affected you personally and professionally?
Pros and cons. I think personally, it's probably been a net negative, if I'm going to be honest. I think that the tiny minuscule amount of notoriety or celebrity, whatever you want to call it, that I've gotten from the show, I don't think it served me well in my personal life, just with when I was going through sort of the rough patch, during filming season 3. I was really basking in the stupid attention of it all. I'd go out with friends and we'd go to the bars and drink, and I would just love the attention. I would just I would feed off of it, and that was so not healthy. And if the show wasn't around, that wouldn't have been a thing. Professionally, there have been some advantages. It's been helpful getting in some doors that I know would have been closed otherwise. But it also has given a bad taste in some people's mouths, just the party perception of the show, or the lack of seriousness, let's say, that our office might have the occasional perception of. That has turned off some clients. But in general, it's been a positive professionally, and I'd say a net negative personally.
Got it. Let's clarify the seriousness of everyday life in and out of the office. Obviously, you guys, they're not going to show the professional seriousness of every day on the show, because there wouldn't be a show. They're obviously going to show the entertaining stuff, the juicy moments, right? Because that's what's that's what's entertaining. That when you see, it's so crazy how people watch the show and they think it's like life or death.
Oh, the messages I'm sure you get. I know I get. I'm not saying.
Yeah, no, I get. They're pretty bad.
So judgmental and so negative, and I'm thinking, you think that's my entire world?
Yeah, exactly. This is
wow.
So yes, I know exactly. They do, and they have like no sense of, I guess, common sense. To think, well, maybe they actually live a normal life, and they're not going to show that. They're just going to show us entertaining or feeding into things, and you know what I mean? So come on, you guys, you got to be a little bit smarter than that. Most of you are. I'm not taking that away, but some of you out there,
it's a vocal minority.
Oh gosh, it's like, come on, you guys. And we're real humans with real feelings. We go through real stuff, and you never know what's happening behind the scenes. And that goes with everybody, on or off camera. You never know what's truly happening behind the scenes. So have a little bit more grace. Okay. That goes for all my cast members. Everybody, have more grace. Know that the show's for entertainment. Yes, it's real, but there's a lot of things that are just like fabricated and right? But anyways, no, I really, really love this talk. I kind of want to go into a little bit about, I know you're remodeling your home right now with Tiffany, which is interior designer. And you kind of want to go that route in real estate, which I love. So I would love for you to kind of share a little bit more about that side.
Well, I think part of me wants to follow in my dad's footsteps as a builder. And right now we're sort of just dipping our toes in the water with a little home renovation. And that is stressful though. I mean,
well, living in it at the same time.
It's a lot.
Yeah. Well, okay. With a newborn, what was going through your mind?
Stupidity. And it's all my idea. So Tiff is a very supportive, just advocate, but she's doing such a great job. It is so fun to sort of, I will say there's something special about transforming your home, your nest, whatever you want to call it, into something that's so personal. So it's giving me a really cool perspective on the sales side, though, and how emotional and that how emotional it is for someone to sell their home, because you really, if they put their blood, sweat, and tears into it and like fret over decisions on, you know, what tile to use here and what color paint to use there, it becomes like a member of your family. It's odd. And it's been a eye-opening process, but my wife is doing a kick-ass job. So we're not doing anything major. We just finished adding like a tile backsplash in our kitchen, and we have been painting some cabinets, and we just have completely redid our albeit tiny yard, a little deck area, and like little entertainment space. But it's been fun, and I think I'd like to see where this goes, as far as maybe my wife and I, doing little flip projects here and there, if we can sort of build up to that. I think that's the idea. That's the dream.
How
so far.
Fun.
It's fun to work with her.
Yeah.
I never really knew my wife in that way as a partner on a project. And obviously it's caused some tension when you're fixing up a home you're living in, and there's dust everywhere. You have, random workers in and out on occasion, but it's brought us closer, and we've learned to work through conflict better because of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. So since we're on that topic, I know you guys, I'm jumping around all over the place. Just leave me alone. I know what you guys are thinking. You mentioned earlier that you're going through some hardships marriage-wise. I'm not going to ask you what that is because it's not my business. It's no one else's business, okay? The relationship is between them. But maybe you can give a little bit advice onto, because you guys were kind of going through counseling and then the show and then having the baby. And now it seems like you guys are doing really, really well. Is that just a mix of counseling and after having the baby and the fulfillment that comes with that? And then of course, remodeling your home, which is exciting for both of you. What advice could you give to maybe the marriage couple out there that is just kind of going through a hard time and they just kind of need some sort of like light or advice onto how to like work through it? Obviously it's a process and it never ends. But maybe kind of shed a little light on some advice for the marriage couple.
I am a huge advocate of counseling.
I love that you said that.
Big time.
Yeah, please elaborate.
So there are things that she said in that safe space with a third party that were breakthroughs for us that wouldn't have happened otherwise. There's like, if you find the right counselor or therapist, whoever they are, to help open you up, they provide that safe space. And once you're in that, once you feel safe, that's everything in life. Once you feel safe, you can express your truth. And for Tiff and I, until we started counseling last year, our issues were my fault. Because it takes two to tango always, but I was so self-absorbed and I was frustrated and feeling burdened in most aspects of my life. And the biggie, just buying a house, the financial stress of all that while filming season 3 and while expecting a baby, I was no longer looking at her like a partner, like someone who we're doing life together with. I was looking at her as a reason, as someone to point the finger at. I put all of my selfish frustrations on her, and it was so unfair. She took it like a champ. I knew, she didn't have to force me to go to counseling. I knew that we needed to go. And I'm glad she suggested it, because it literally did a 180 for us. And I went from feeling like I wasn't being heard in our marriage and to feeling safe enough to express what I was feeling internally. And
and having that unbiased mediator to be able to go, because when you go to your friends and family, I'm sure that's so difficult, because obviously they're going to be biased, so and sometimes friends and family don't need to necessarily know every detail of your marriage, right? Because then they start inputting their advice, or they want to help, or they think they're helping. But
I do
what are you thinking about?
I do remember this scene didn't make the cut, but it was filmed, so I feel safe sharing this.
Okay.
But I did talk to Jason I was like, Jason, I just want to let you know, I'm going through a tough time, and, I think my wife and I are going to start marital counseling. I don't know. I confided in him, I think, because he's an authority in my life as a boss figure.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, dude, he's like, the counseling is the best thing in the world. I went to counseling for years with my brother Brett. This is all on camera, so I feel safe sharing this.
Yeah.
I went to counseling for years with my brother Brett, and we still go to counseling on occasion, like a married couple. Like I was cracking up, and he's like, "Yeah, I laugh, but it works, and we're so much like our relationship is so much stronger for it." I just found that so endearing, and so cute. I was like,
so
dude,
sweet.
I was like, Jay, that is awesome. Thank you.
I had no idea he did that with Brett.
I didn't either.
What?
I don't think many people do.
Oh, this is great. We're keeping that in here. Sorry, Jason and Brett.
Yeah, I would just love to be a fly on the wall in that room.
Oh, same. All of us. Oh my gosh, that's so good. But I love you bring that up, because it's giving people permission to just like, it's okay, right? To get extra help outside. And I think a lot of people feel like if you go to counseling, you're like on the brink of breakup. So people don't want to accept that, or they're in denial. It's almost like, because I speak now to high schools, and kids go through a lot of mental health issues. And so, I really talk about seeking help, and that it's okay, because like I grew up where a parent of mine would say, like, you need like help. I can't professionally help you on this. And he made me seem like I was crazy. And so I looked at therapy or anything like that as like there has to be issues, like serious issues with me. I have to be crazy. And I don't see myself that way. I was just going through whatever I was going through, like we all do. But I felt like it was frowned upon, but obviously I've never been married, so I don't have experience in that. But I think that's where a lot of people can relate, either in a marriage couple or as a single individual. So that's really, really good that you touch up on that. And I love that. So again, I know I'm bouncing around. So I know we talked a little bit before coming on. As you know, my show is Paint to Power. What would you say is a very kind of deep, dark, hard moment that you say was that helped you kind of, it was like a breakthrough for you that you went through and you felt, and it was so hard for you, and you just knew that like things had to change, you had to change, that was just really hard for you, that you've gone through. And it seems like it's kind of, you've been through a lot of transitions in your life, being from individual, well, before fatherhood, after fatherhood, and then I'm sure going through with your parents' divorce, and transitioning from whatever you were doing into real estate. Those are all just kind of moments where you're just unsure. But what would you say was like that turning point, that pivot in your life where you're just like, it was so hard, you didn't think you were going to go through it, but you got through it?
Wow. It's a great question.
I'm trying to get deep into
Yeah.
who Gio is.
I mean, okay, it's a tough for me to answer that. I think it's like kind of like a coming to Jesus moment that I can't think of like a specific vision, but it's when I think about just really, I'm going to keep going back to last year while we were filming season 3. I think that for me was probably the hardest patch of life that I've gone through since definitely being married. I mean, probably the last decade. And I think it was this culmination of the family that I grew up with disintegrating, my parents' divorce, and my wife and I not being on the same level. Like, not like, I know that I didn't feel heard or seen, and I'm sure she felt the same. Like, there were times where, I'd come home from the office, from work or filming, and I'd come home, I'd say hi, and that would be the only word spoken until I said bye the next morning. And
did you guys feel like you're kind of like in that brink of almost a breakup?
Well, I think if it wasn't for the fact that we were having a baby, I don't know if there was, at least from where I was sitting, I don't want to speak for her, but it was not a good place. I'm not saying we were there. It was as deep as I felt like it could go. I couldn't imagine it really getting any worse. And it was painful, and I was not caring or attentive or nurturing or anything that a husband should be towards a wife. And it's so frustrating. Like, I want to go back in retrospect and like strangle myself. And
well, would you say going through all of that has brought you guys closer or made you stronger?
It's sort of like, when people put initials on things like BT, like before Teddy and after Teddy. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying like go have a kid to solve all your problems. That's not what I'm advocating here. But having our son forced me to deal with the truths in counseling with her, and vice versa. And that's the hardest thing for me in life, is looking in the mirror and being real. And
That's real.
Yeah.
That's very real.
It was
and
it was a journey that ultimately brought us closer, though.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can only imagine how many parents, men, even women are listening to this where they understand you, because you're not the only one that goes through that. And you had a wake up call, and it was like, tough love a little bit. It's time to man up and get your household together. You are the leader, you are the provider, you need to figure this out. And God has a very funny way to put things in our faces where, hey, personally for me, I was so stubborn I did not believe in God. And it really, I truly believe this 100%. He literally knew how stubborn I was. He had to put me on a TV screen and be like, look how you're behaving. Look how many times you're drunk and you didn't remember that scene or filming because you're blacked out drunk, doing and saying things that you're not proud of. And then that was when I realized I need to change. So sometimes God, again, has such different ways to just put things in front of you or put you in situations or force you to get outside of your comfort zone. So that is how you grow.
The older I get, and I'm sure you can agree, the more I realize that God has he has a sense of humor.
He sure does. Sure does.
I started journaling, I'd say, I don't know, about a year ago. And when I say journaling, I mean sort of like writing down my prayers. And I was flipping through those recently, and I'm just like laughing at, this is what I was praying for, and this is where it ended up. And I can just, I can like hear God chuckling in my head, like, you short-sighted idiot. Like, it's hard to articulate, but
that's probably what he said.
Yeah, probably.
And so he answers your prayers. Is that what you're saying?
I guess he knows what's better for me than I do. Let's put it that way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Hope so, at least.
He knows the past, the present, and your future forever and always, all the way to eternity. So, when would you say like your faith really got strong? Did you grow up believing in God?
I did. Both my parents are Christian, and I grew up going to church, and I phased in and out of my faith growing up. And again, I keep going back, like the low point of last year filming season 3, I was completely disconnected from God. I mean, I hadn't cracked open that Bible for I don't know how long. And so once I started, I have to sneeze. I'm not going to cry.
No, you cry. Just kidding. Okay, thank you.
Sorry. No, I'm okay.
You can bring him a tissue, guys. Just kidding.
Make it look like I'm crying.
Capture these moments and make it look like he's crying.
Anyways, once I started, really dedicating part of my routine to prayer, it's fascinating what that does. Maybe not in the moment, but in time.
100%. I love that so much. I'm going to start wrapping it up. I do want to end it there. I really love how that ended. So there's a couple more questions I ask all my guests. In your definition, what does pain to power mean to you?
Well, I love the title. I think it means facing your truth, facing yourself.
Wow. That's big. You're I want you to know the growth that I've seen and witnessed in you has been huge. And I hope that you see that in yourself and that you really take that to heart, because not a lot of people can step outside of themselves and be able to look at themselves and say, I really need to get it together. Not just for me, but for everyone else around me. And you were able to figure out one of the biggest meanings in life. One of the biggest meanings in life is a life that is not about you. Because it's not. It is about everybody else. And that's what we're on this planet for. To help, whether it being a father, a husband, a friend, a coworker, anybody, a son, right? But you're progressing, and God doesn't want perfection. He wants progression, and that is powerful. And you are a model of that. So I hope you're proud of yourself.
Thank you.
I'm proud of you, and everyone that truly cares about you around you does see it. Okay. And we're still growing as friends, but I see it. And everyone is extremely proud of you, Gio. And I cannot wait to see what this year has in store for you.
Thank you. It was such an honor to be here and talk to you like this. And the respect is mutual,
I adore you.
et cetera.
I adore you.
And those boots, those are powerful.
Can we get a close up, please? Just kidding. My power boots just for you today. All right, couple more. Do you have any other projects coming up? Anything you would like to share? Anything you want to promote? Anything you're working on?
No, I mean, really right now it's kind of a lot going on the home front. So I want to be done. Like, it gets to a point where you just get burnt. You're tired of like living in dust and like all the chaos. So I want to be done and just enjoy the fruits of our labor.
I love that. You're in your resting season because you've been hustling and hustling and hustling. This is finally you get a break. All right. Where can everyone connect with you? What's the best places to find Gio Helou?
I mean, I'm getting better at Instagram slowly. So just find me there, DM me, and
just Google
go
him.
from there.
Just Google him.
Yeah, sure.
The Gio Helou. All right, everyone, if you found this episode to be meaningful and helpful, please share it, subscribe, like, follow, all the things. And I cannot wait till our next episode. See you in the next one.